Hola chicos, so here we are, grammar notes number 5, definite articles, indefinite articles, and the plurals of nouns. Most of this is going to look familiar to you from exploratory Spanish. For those of you who didn't have exploratory Spanish, this will be a really helpful reminder and kind of a helper through if you need, to hear something again apart from what we heard in class or if you missed class altogether. So let's start off by hitting some definitions that we know are going to be really important for us. I'm going to go right down in here and let's talk about nouns. So a noun you learned in elementary school, very simple. It's people. Whoops, if I could spell that'd be great. People, places, things, and ideas, concepts. Okay. Now we talked about this last year. Yes, they are people, places, things, and concepts, but it's not the actual person that's the noun. It's just the word. Nouns are not people, they are not places, they're the words that represent them. So the words that represent people, places, things, and concepts. And because they are not the actual things themselves, they are just the words. In Spanish, we have gender for all of our nouns. All nouns are assigned either masculine or feminine gender. So masculine, well, I want those to be red, so let's change that up. Masculine or feminine. And that's going to happen in many, many languages. English is one of the few languages where we only have it for inanimate objects, whereas in Spanish, el pupitre is masculine and la puerta is feminine. It's not human gender, it is grammar gender, and that's a different thing. Besides gender, we also have number, how many of something we have. Grammatically refer to that as singular, meaning one of something, or plural, more than one of something. So in Spanish, it's really important to understand when you have a noun, is that noun masculine or is it feminine? Is it singular or is it plural? That is going to be reinforced by two things. We have definite articles right here and indefinite articles. A definite article, in English we have one, it's the. Oh, I want that to be red. I keep forgetting. Boom. Okay. The. Okay. And it refers to specific nouns. Okay, something specific. It's a specific noun you want to talk about, the desk. Whereas an indefinite article is going to be non-specific. It's what we would call in English a, or if we have more than one of them, some. Okay, that's going to be non-specific nouns. Okay, so it's just, it's not the desk, it's just a desk. It's not, these students, it's just some students. They're out there. One final one, we just kind of talked about that already when we talked about number, but just to reinforce plurals, because we're going to talk about forming plurals, it's more than one of something. Oh, I don't want that to be all uppercase. More than one. Okay, of something. So that's going to make the noun plural. And those are all grammatical terms that we're going to have to get used to using consistently throughout your study of another language. So let's go down here to the bottom of your page. Let's look at this chart here. Fantastic. And we are going to talk about nouns themselves in Spanish, how they relate both masculine and feminine, and some things that go along with them. So we're going to start off by words themselves. Now, you can usually tell a word is masculine if it ends in the letter O. Okay. However, sometimes some masculine words, a common ending, letter R, or sometimes we use the letter L. So for example, an O ending noun, el chico, something you're very familiar with. Okay, an R ending noun, something like el borrador. Or an L ending noun, something like maybe el papel. Okay, all words you're very familiar with. So those words tend to be masculine. Now you can't always follow the rule, there's always exceptions, but they tend to be masculine. On the feminine side, feminine nouns tend to end in the letter A, but they also, another popular ending in Spanish is sion, sion. Now this O is always going to have an accent mark on it, so we're going to add that in there. Boop. Okay. Sion, or also dad. Okay, D-A-D, dad. An A ending example might be something, well, we did el chico, so let's do la chica. Okay. Sion, or negación, maybe la pronunciación. La pronunciación. Okay. You're going to find a lot of those cions are going to be cognates. And a DAD, the most common one, la actividad. Right? We do this all the time. We're going to do this actividad in class. You can 99.9% of the time rely on the definite article that accompanies the noun to tell you if it's masculine or feminine. All right, so for masculine, we have el. For the singular, we have los for the plural. On the feminine side, you already know these. La for the singular, las for the plural. So those will be your forms of the. El, la, los, and las all mean the. Whereas the indefinite article, a, if you have just, a book, if it's masculine, un. If there's some of them, unos. On the feminine side, you already know this one, una, the one we didn't see last year, but very simple, straightforward, unas, to make a plural. We know there are exceptions to every single rule. So there are masculine nouns that end and what would be considered a feminine ending. For example, one you're very familiar with, el día. Accent mark on that. Let's throw that in there. Boop. Okay, slide this down a little bit. So el día ends in an A, but it's masculine. Same thing with one that drives me crazy, el problema. People always are like, no problemo. No, it's not problemo, it's problema. Drives me crazy. Right. Over here, one you learned last year as well. You learned to raise your hand by saying levanta la mano. Ends in an O, but it's actually feminine. Another familiar word to you, la radio. Okay, there's a cognate. Radio happens to be feminine. There are some nouns also that are the same thing, both for the masculine and the feminine. It's just the articles that are different. El estudiante has the feminine la estudiante. It's the same word, just different form. Coming back over to the masculine side, another example, el artista. Okay, an artist. Well, the feminine version of that, go underneath there, la artista. So words that end in ista tend to be both masculine and feminine, I-S-T-A. So even though it ends in an A, it can still be a masculine noun. So there's exceptions. So you can use those endings, but there are going to be different exceptions to that. So let's go ahead and flip on the back of your paper and talk about making nouns plural. Now we have some rules when we make nouns plural. This should look very, very familiar to you. You learned this in exploratory Spanish. We know that when we make a noun plural, we're going to have to change the article. El is the singular, los is the plural. La is the singular, las is the plural. Un, we just talked about, becomes unos. And una becomes unas. So that's the first thing you have to do, change the article. Then you go to the noun itself. You have to look at the ending and decide if it ends in a vowel, you are going to add the letter S. But if the vowel ends in if the noun ends in a consonant, you are going to add ES. Okay. Vowels add S, consonants add ES. The goal is always that you want it to end vowel S, whatever it happens to be. So let's do some practice with those and let's see how this goes. So let's scroll down here. Let's do some examples. All right, so we're going to blow this up a little bit. Let's look at these right in the middle here. Some examples. So let's talk about this. El libro. All right, so what could happen to el libro? Well, we're going to follow the rules. El becomes los. Libro is the noun. It ends in a vowel. Add an S. Libros. El papel. Well, el becomes los. Papel, on the other hand, different from libro, ends in a consonant. It needs a vowel. The vowel you're going to give it is E, and then you add the S. La amiga. Well, la becomes las. Amiga is your noun. Whoa, what's that? It ends in a vowel, so you're going to add that S. La pared, the wall, new word for you guys this year. La pared ends in a consonant. We're going to add ES. So la pared, las, la, what am I doing there? Ah, that's horrible. Las, there we go. Did you catch me? I hope so. All right, let's go down here. We just did some examples with definite articles. Let's do some with indefinite articles. Now, if you really want, what you could do is pause the video, try them on your own, and then see how you did. All right? I totally support that. Let's see what happens. What's the worst thing that happens if you get it wrong? Who cares? We'll figure it out. Un. Well, un becomes unos. So a notebook is going to become some notebooks. Un cuaderno ends in a vowel. Add the S. Unos cuadernos. Un borrador. You're going to change that indefinite article un to unos. So a changes to some. Borrador becomes borradores. Ends in a consonant. Add es. Una mochila, there's your backpack. Una becomes unas. Mochila becomes mochilas. And last but not least, una actividad. Una becomes unas, so an activity becomes some activities. Actividad ends in a consonant, add the es, bam. So those are ones that kind of follow the prescription. They follow the rule. There are some outliers, some little things that are a little changey-uppy. All right. We're going to start with one you are very familiar with. For nouns that end in the letter Z, you are very familiar with el lápiz. We learned that in exploratory. When the Z is at the end of the word, we are going to change that article, el to los. Lápiz is your noun. That needs that accent mark, the A. Let's pop that in there. Boom. This is really like English where puppy, you change the Y to I and add ES. Well, in Spanish, we change Z's to C's. So Z becomes C and then add the ES. Same thing's going to happen over here with la luz. This is a word you're familiar with. I say it in class all the time. Las luces. Talk about the lights because it's bright in the class. La luz becomes las luces. Look at that being all bold. We don't need that to be bold, do we? Not so much. There we go. All right. Sometimes there's an accent mark issue. There are words that sometimes you add an accent mark to in the plural, and sometimes you remove an accent mark. We're going to do an example of each. And there are rules for this, and you'll see it more later. It's not going to make as much sense now, so let's just kind of go with this. El examen becomes los exámenes. No, it's the A that gets the accent mark. Exámenes. Whoops, there it is. El examen, los exámenes. I don't know if you could hear, but my I can't say her name, but my little, machine in the room that sometimes says things. Alexa. Yeah, I think she heard me say something, and then she started talking. La lección. We're gonna make that lose the accent mark. La lección becomes las lecciones. And there's a reason why. We'll talk more about it later. Not important right now. Last but not least, you have some that don't change at all in the plural. Like it's like the word deer in English. Like 1 deer in the field, 10 deer in the field. El sacapuntas already ends in a vowel and an S. It's already there. It's more than one syllable. It ends in a vowel S. El's still going to change to los. Sacapuntas, however, is going to say just as it is. We're not going to make it sacapuntas as it is. That would sound ridiculous. All right, friends. I know that was a lot. It was pretty fast. Most of this looks very familiar to you. Hopefully, if it was too fast for you, just pause the video, stop, go back. That's why we do these things. So here you go. That's Unit 2A. Your grammar notes, number 5. We're going to hit the definite articles, indefinite articles, and the plurals of nouns. If you have questions, you know where to find me in class. See you soon.